You wake up, you pour your morning coffee, and before you even take that first sip, you open the Zillow app.
Like clockwork, every single morning.
Right. But what if I told you that little number glowing on your screen, the exact number you are currently using to map out your retirement plans or, your next big move, could easily be off by the price of a brand new luxury car?
Simply because your house isn't actively for sale. It's wild.
Yeah, just because there's no sign in the yard.
It completely changes the dynamic. I mean, we are experiencing this profound shift right now where people are treating a piece of software like it is a living, breathing financial advisor.
Sitting right there at the breakfast table with them.
Exactly, delivering absolute certainties.
And it causes that visceral spike in your chest when you hit refresh. Whether it's pure adrenaline because the algorithm says you are suddenly richer, or that creeping panic that your net worth dropped overnight.
Yeah, it's a universal experience in the 2026 real estate landscape.
The Zestimate has essentially become the morning coffee of homeowners. We check it obsessively. We look at it when we wake up, and it's the definitive metric we agonize over before deciding to list a property.
Which is a precarious position to be in.
Oh, totally, because the core problem we're facing today is that people are treating this algorithmic guess like a guaranteed cashier's check. And it is causing a massive amount of either blind panic or incredibly dangerous false hope.
You're dealing with what is, for the vast majority of people, their single largest financial asset. When you anchor your reality to a flawed digital projection, I mean, the real-world consequences are severe.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are taking a crucial survival guide approach for anyone interacting with the real estate market right now.
Which is pretty much everyone.
Right. Our source material today is this incredibly eye-opening Substack post from a Tampa realtor named Ian Walters. The piece is titled The Digital Mirror.
Such a great title.
It really is. And our mission today is to unpack the 3 most impactful insights from his research about what this algorithm is actually doing to your home's value.
We're going to explore that fascinating ongoing debate between AI data and human reality.
And we will give you the ultimate actionable takeaway to navigate this market without losing your mind.
It is a brilliant piece of writing because it strips away the mystical aura of the technology. It looks under the hood at the actual mechanics of the numbers.
It forces us to confront how the machine actually thinks.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the first insight Walters presents completely shattered how I assumed this app functioned. He introduces us to the 2026 Neural Zestimate.
Right, because we are long past the era of a basic spreadsheet algorithm.
Yeah, the one that just pulls public tax records and looks at what the 3-bedroom house next door sold for last month.
The technology has evolved so far beyond that.
So what is this neural network actually doing behind the scenes when it evaluates a property today? Like, how does it work?
The technological leap is staggering. Walters explains that Zillow is now utilizing a highly sophisticated neural network that processes hundreds of distinct data points in real time. But the most significant paradigm shift is the integration of computer vision.
Computer vision, so it's not just reading the text of a listing description anymore.
No, it is actually looking at the photographs of the home.
Wait, really? So it's analyzing the individual pixels in the pictures. How does that actually work in practice?
It is evaluating visual textures and patterns to categorize the quality of the home's finishes. For instance, it doesn't just scan for the words updated kitchen.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the computer vision is trained to recognize the visual difference in light reflection and grain between a cheap laminate countertop and, say, high-end Italian marble.
That is insane.
It scans the geometry of a room, too. It can instantly categorize whether a primary bedroom has a standard 8-foot drywall ceiling or a custom architectural vaulted ceiling.
Just from a photo.
Just from a photo. And then it takes that complex visual data and cross-references it with massive, continuously updating external data sets.
Okay, that level of detail is almost intimidating. What kind of external data sets is it pulling from to match with those photos?
Well, it pulls in highly localized climate risk scores, assessing flood zones or wildfire proximity down to the specific longitude and latitude of your front door.
Wow.
And it tracks real-time buyer demand trends directly from the broader Zillow super app ecosystem.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Think about what it knows. It literally knows how many users are pausing their scrolling to look at pictures of homes exactly like yours in your specific zip code at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday.
That is slightly terrifying, honestly.
It measures dwell time, link sharing, virtual tour completion rates. I mean, it is an absolute technological marvel of data aggregation.
And this is a massive qualifier. Walters points out that it is still, at the end of the day, an algorithm subject to its own blind spots. Like, what if the lighting in the listing photo is terrible, or the image is just slightly blurry?
That is precisely where the illusion of omniscience starts to crack. If the computer vision cannot accurately parse the visual data because the homeowner took a dark, blurry photo with an older smartphone, the neural network doesn't just give up.
What is it?
It defaults to baseline assumptions based on the neighborhood average. So it might downgrade that Italian marble to basic tile in its calculation simply because the lighting didn't allow the algorithm to confirm the premium material.
Oh, that's brutal. Which brings us to the hard numbers Walters explains in the text. When people ask if they can trust this number on their screen, the answer entirely depends on one incredibly specific factor.
Is your house actually for sale right now?
Exactly.
The data reveals a stark binary divide. If your home is actively listed on the market, the median error rate of the neural Zestimate is impressively sharp. Nationally, it sits at around 1.9%.
A 1.9% margin of error is remarkably close to the pin for a computer program evaluating a physical structure.
It is highly accurate, but we have to understand why. When the house is actively listed, the AI has what Walters terms active signals to feed on.
Active signals, like the list price.
Right. It has the anchor of the exact list price set by a human agent. More importantly, it can measure that current real-time level of buyer engagement we just talked about.
Because it's a live listing.
Yeah, it is watching actual humans react to the property in the digital space. The algorithm is essentially feeding on live kinetic market energy.
That makes sense. But here's the flip side that Walters highlights. If your home is off-market, meaning, it's just sitting there while you live your life, making dinner, watching television.
No for sale sign in the yard.
Right, no sign. That error rate jumps from 1.9% to a staggering 7.2%.
That represents a massive deterioration in mathematical accuracy, and it is entirely because the machine is starved of those active behavioral signals.
And Walters does the hard math on this, and it makes the stakes incredibly clear. Let's say you own a $500,000 home. A 7.2% error rate represents a $36,000 swing in perceived value.
That's huge.
He has this line in the piece that just hits like a ton of bricks. He says, that is the difference between a renovated kitchen and a college fund.
What's fascinating here is how that off-market uncertainty preys directly on human psychology.
Oh, absolutely.
Because when you are passively checking your app every morning, you are looking at a number with a built-in $36,000 margin of error. But the human brain processes digital data as absolute truth.
We just believe the screen.
Right. You start making mental plans. You start budgeting for an early retirement or a cross-country move based entirely on phantom equity.
And what actually happens when a homeowner decides to list their property based on that phantom number? Like, let's say the app tells them they have that extra 36 grand, so they demand their agent list it at that inflated price.
That is where the digital illusion crashes into market reality. The home hits the market overpriced. Real buyers who are looking at actual comparable sales just ignore it.
They see right through it.
Yeah, the property sits, the listing goes stale. And in real estate, time is your enemy.
Because people start wondering what's wrong with it.
Exactly. The longer a house sits, the more buyers assume something is fundamentally wrong with it. Eventually, the seller has to execute a series of painful price drops, often selling for less than they would have if they had priced it accurately from day one.
Wow.
The neural network might be brilliant, but when it lacks those active signals, it creates vastly distorted financial expectations that can literally ruin a sale.
To visualize why this gap exists, I was thinking about it like this. It's like trying to predict exactly how fast an athlete could run a 100-meter sprint based purely on looking at a high-resolution photo of the sneakers they were wearing.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Versus timing that exact same athlete while they're actually out on the track running the race with the crowd cheering and the wind at their back. The algorithm desperately needs the physical momentum of the actual race to be accurate.
Without the race happening, it is just taking a highly educated guess based on the shoes.
Exactly. That analogy perfectly captures the limitations of passive data. which transitions us beautifully to the second major insight in the digital mirror. We've established that this technology is incredibly advanced,
Yes.
but Walters makes a sharp pivot to examine its severe structural limitations. He argues that despite being this marvel of computer vision and real-time behavioral data, the neural network is completely and permanently vibe blind.
Vibe blind. It is an exceptional piece of phrasing because it isolates exactly what a machine learning model cannot parse.
Because real estate is not merely a collection of data points on a server. It is a visceral, physical, human reality. And Walters runs through a series of brilliant real-world examples that an AI simply cannot process.
Like what?
For instance, the app cannot smell. It does not know that the house with those beautiful computer-verified Italian marble countertops also smells like 3 decades of heavy indoor cigarette smoking.
Oh, man. And we know from human behavioral patterns that the smell of stale smoke will instantly aggressively disqualify a house for at least half the buyers who walk through the front door.
At least half.
It fundamentally alters the true market value of the asset, regardless of what the high-definition photos suggest to the algorithm.
Right. Walters also brings up the surrounding environment. The computer might register that a house is located a block away from public transit. On paper, or, in an algorithm, that registers as a massive boost to the property's walkability score.
Sure, it looks great on a spreadsheet.
But the AI cannot stand in the living room and feel the subtle, annoying vibrations of that light rail train rattling the fine china in the cupboards. Furthermore, it doesn't know that this specific train line only starts running its heavy freight schedule after 5 p.m.
Which is precisely the time when the prospective buyer is coming home from work, hoping for a quiet, relaxing evening. The algorithm sees convenience, the human experiences a daily disruption.
Yes. And then there's the issue of hyperlocal politics. The AI doesn't know that the local municipal school board is sitting in a closed-door meeting right now, actively voting to redraw the district boundaries.
Right, the invisible lines.
Tomorrow morning, that decision is going to instantly make one side of your street 10% more valuable than the other side, simply because of an administrative line.
A machine learning model, no matter how advanced, cannot predict human administrative decisions before they are finalized, signed, and officially published to a public database that the AI can scrape.
It's always lagging behind reality.
It is entirely reactive to that kind of human nuance.
Walters synthesizes all of this into a metaphor that frames the problem perfectly. He writes that a Zestimate is a thermometer that tells you the current temperature, but it is not the weather forecast.
That is so spot on. It provides a snapshot of a mathematical condition, but it is utterly incapable of telling you how it is actually going to feel to stand outside in the elements.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I want to challenge this premise for a moment.
Okay, let's hear it.
If this neural network is already so sophisticated that it's pulling in predictive climate risk models and cross-referencing real-time super app behavioral demand, isn't it only a matter of time before it does factor in those municipal school board schedules or public transit timetables?
You think it will learn the vibes?
Well, couldn't a tech giant eventually train an AI to scrape enough localized data to essentially calculate a digital vibe?
It is a vital question to ask, and you are right that data integration will inevitably deepen. The algorithms will absolutely get better at predictive modeling for municipal shifts or transit proximity. However, we have to recognize that residential real estate is fundamentally, at its absolute core, an emotional and physical transaction.
Emotion over data.
Always. A machine can definitely pull a train schedule into its database. What a machine cannot do is simulate the human physiological reaction to walking into a space.
Yeah, that feeling you get.
An algorithm cannot quantify the feeling of natural light hitting the hardwood floor of a living room at a specific golden hour angle that makes a buyer stop in their tracks, turn to their partner and say, "This is it. This is home."
Oh, absolutely.
That deeply human feeling is the exact catalyst that causes someone to throw logic out the window and bid $20,000 over the asking price. Algorithms calculate logic. Human beings buy homes with emotion.
You cannot write code for the feeling of belonging.
No.
Which leads us directly into the third big insight, and really the underlying tension of this entire deep dive. We are looking at this ongoing battle of man versus machine within the very specific context of our current April 2026 market.
Right.
If we acknowledge that the algorithm has these inherent blind spots, how should buyers and sellers actually be interacting with the platform? Because let's be honest, nobody is going to stop opening the app.
No, the app is a permanent fixture of our daily digital diet. The necessary shift is in how we utilize it, moving away from treating it as a definitive oracle and starting to use it as one strategic tool among many.
So how do we do that?
Walters lays out incredibly practical, divergent approaches depending on which side of the transaction you find yourself on.
Let's start with the sellers. What is their strategic move against the algorithm?
For sellers, the most dangerous mistake is passive acceptance. Walters advises that sellers need to actively claim their home on the digital platform. You must step in and feed the algorithm the facts it cannot see.
Like correcting the record.
Exactly. If you just spent $30,000 putting on a brand new architectural roof, or you installed high-end energy-efficient windows, the computer vision cannot evaluate that from a grainy satellite street view. You have to manually input that data to force the AI to refine its calculations.
You have to manage it.
You must manage the algorithm rather than letting the algorithm manage your net worth.
That raises a fascinating procedural question, though. If a seller is actively managing the data, what stops them from just lying?
Ah, right.
If I claim I installed a brand new luxury roof, but it's actually 20 years old, does the algorithm just blindly accept my input and pump up my home's value?
The neural network is actually trained to be skeptical. It takes user input as a variable, but it immediately attempts to verify that claim against public records. It will scan municipal databases for recently pulled roofing permits.
Flower.
If it cannot verify the claim through official channels or visual evidence, it might offer a very slight provisional bump in the algorithmic value, but it will not give you full credit for the upgrade.
And even if you do trick it.
Right. More importantly, even if a seller manages to temporarily trick the algorithm into displaying a higher number, that digital fiction instantly falls apart the moment a human home inspector walks onto the property.
Yeah, you can't fake a roof to a person standing on it.
Right.
So sellers need to be proactive, honest data managers. What is the tactical advice for buyers in this environment?
For buyers, Walter suggests using the digital mirror strictly as a macro-level baseline. It is a highly effective tool for spotting general aggregate neighborhood trends.
So looking at the big picture.
Yes. If the algorithmic values for an entire 4-block radius are steadily creeping upward month over month, that is a reliable, data-driven signal of growing demand. But, and this is the crucial reality check Walters provides for the current landscape, you have to contextualize that data within the reality of the April 2026 market.
The reality being that mortgage rates have finally dipped back toward that 6% threshold.
Precisely. With rates dipping, thousands of buyers who were waiting on the sidelines are flooding back into the market. And when intense human competition enters the chat, algorithmic rationality immediately exits.
Oh, people go crazy.
They really do. The neural network might calculate that a home is worth exactly $450,000 based on the math. But a bidding war fueled by 4 families who desperately want their kids in that specific elementary school will always drive the final contracted price higher than a computer's logical prediction.
So what does this all mean for the average person listening right now? The way I conceptualized it while reading Walter's piece is this. Treating the Zestimate as the final indisputable value of your home is essentially like treating WebMD as your final medical diagnosis.
That is a great analogy.
Like WebMD is an incredibly powerful tool. It's a fantastic starting point for gathering baseline information. You plug in your symptoms, and you immediately see general trends and possibilities of what might be happening in your body.
Right, it gives you a ballpark.
But you would never, under any circumstances, skip the doctor's office and just confidently wheel yourself into an operating room for major surgery based entirely on an app's output.
God, no.
You still require an actual human doctor to physically examine you, listen to your heart, and understand your complex personal context before you make a life-altering decision.
It's a great comparison, but I'd take it a step further to highlight the danger. With WebMD, the stakes are your physical health, so self-preservation kicks in, and you instinctively run to a human doctor to confirm the terrible thing the app told you. But with a real estate app, because the interface is showing you dollar signs, human greed kicks in. People are far more likely to intentionally skip the doctor's visit because they desperately want to believe the massively inflated number the app is showing them. They don't want a human expert to pop their digital bubble.
That is a brilliant distinction. The greed factor completely overrides the desire for a second opinion. Which brings us to the ultimate actionable takeaway for you, the listener. If you are sitting there right now staring at your home's digital mirror, Do not use that glowing number to write a check, and absolutely do not use it to set your final financial expectations.
You need a professional.
What Walters argues you actually need to navigate this market is a CMA.
A comparative market analysis. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the CMA represents the necessary human intervention in a heavily automated world. The debate isn't whether AI in real estate is useless. It is incredibly useful for mapping broad macro trends.
It's just a tool.
The debate is about understanding its proper place in the hierarchy of decision-making.
Let's actually break down how a human professional conducts a CMA to beat the algorithm. How does an agent's methodology differ from what the neural network is doing?
A human agent performing a CMA takes the exact same massive data sets that the algorithm uses, the recent sales, the square footage, the tax records, but they meticulously layer it with the visceral realities that only a human can evaluate.
The boots on the ground stuff?
Exactly. They physically walk the property. They note the way the natural light makes the living room feel expansive rather than cramped. They literally smell the air to ensure there isn't a lingering odor of smoke or pet damage that would kill a deal.
They are actively manually adjusting the comparables based on the vibe.
Yes, the vibe. The human agent will look at a recently sold house down the street that the algorithm considers a perfect match, and the agent will manually subtract value from your home because they know your backyard backs up to that 5 p.m. freight train line, whereas the house down the street was insulated from the noise.
They know the context.
They understand the hyper-local nuances, like knowing exactly which side of the school boundary line your driveway sits on. Most importantly, a human agent knows the current real-time emotional temperature of the buyers who are actually walking through open houses in your specific zip code just last weekend.
A CMA bridges the massive gap between the algorithmic temperature reading and the actual boots-on-the-ground weather forecast.
It restores human agency to a transaction that is ultimately about human lives.
So before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a lingering thought that really stuck with me long after I finished reading Walter's piece. Because of these incredibly accessible platforms, we are increasingly gamifying our homes.
We really are.
We have taken our primary shelters, the physical spaces where we sleep, where we raise our children, where we build the foundation of our lives, and we have turned them into daily, volatile digital stock tickers that we check obsessively alongside our morning coffee.
It's changing how we view our own living spaces.
And you have to stop and wonder. By gamifying our most intimate spaces, are we fundamentally losing our psychological connection to our homes as places to actually live? Are we slowly trapping ourselves in the perpetual anxiety of an algorithm, forgetting that the true value of a house isn't just what a neural network calculates it can sell for, but what it actually feels like when you walk through the front door at the end of a long day?
It raises a profound question about our digital era. At what exact point does the technological tool stop serving us and we start blindly serving the tool?
So tomorrow morning, when you pour that fresh cup of coffee and your thumb inevitably hovers over that familiar blue app icon, maybe just take a slow breath. Look around your actual living room. Appreciate the natural light coming through the window, and remember that the digital mirror is only ever showing you a fraction of the picture.
And as we established, the algorithm certainly cannot smell the coffee.
No, it cannot.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the digital mirror. Keep questioning the algorithms, and we will see you next time.